Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Danny and Owen. This is the big fight breakdown for the big fight at cruiserweight between Jai Opetaia and Jack Massey, taking place, of course, on the undercard of Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol in Saudi Arabia on October the 12th. Gents, it's a world title fight. It's one of ESBR's favourites in Jai Opetaia, one of the best fighters in the world right now, is back in action against Britain's own Jack Massey. And we're here to analyse it, give a few talking points, and give our predictions. If you enjoy this video, please do give us a like. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Owen, I'll start with you. How much of a test is this for Jai Opetaia? We saw him kind of have a tough test in his last fight against Marius Bridis. Of course, we've seen him untested against the likes of Ellis Sorra and Jordan Thompson. Jack Massey, just a couple of losses on his record to Joseph Parker and to Richard Riakporhe. How much of a test is this going to be for Jai Opetaia, in your opinion?
I think we all know my opinions on Jai Opetaia anyway, but I don't think he's going to be anything dangerous at all. We've seen Jack Massey get beat by Riakporhe. We've seen that weird fight with Joseph Parker. Still don't know why that fight ever even happened. I just think Jai Opetaia would just be too good for him. It'd be interesting if Jack Massey could produce a shot because I haven't actually had a look at the odds as of yet, but I would imagine the odds are quite wide on this one. But I don't see Massey giving Opetaia any issues at all. I don't want to say it's an easy night's work. I don't want to compare it to Jordan Thompson because Jack Massey's definitely a level above Jordan Thompson. But yeah, simple night's work for Jai Opetaia. Without trying to give too much away in predictions, I just don't think this is a challenge for him at all, to be quite honest.
Yeah, Opetaia is seen as the best cruiserweight in the world right now. Jack Massey coming off a really good win against Isaac Chamberlain. It'd be interesting to see kind of Jack Massey against the other world champions in the division as well as Opetaia, see how they compare. Danny, what do you think? Do you see this as one that Opetaia can kind of take a bit lightly? Is it one that you expect Opetaia just kind of to breeze through in a couple of rounds? How much of a test is this for Jai Opetaia?
I don't think it's a fight he can take lightly. I think it'll definitely be a tougher night's work than he's had against the two other British cruiserweights he's faced, as Owen mentioned, and Jordan Thompson and particularly El Zorro. Um, it's interesting you talk about taking the fight lightly because after the Maris Bridis rematch, I seen an interview with Jai Opetaia and he was saying, I sort of bought into the narrative that Bridis was maybe past it. And it's interesting to hear a fighter speak like that. So you wonder, I don't think you can afford to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I've beat Maris Bridis, Jack Massey's lost to Richard Riakporhe, so I'm levels above him. I'll beat him because Massey will be coming into the fight with plenty of confidence. That was arguably the best one of his career last time out against Isaac Chamberlain. In a fight he won well, had to really dig deep to win. And I thought he did win well, and it was relatively close in the cards. But you would have to make Opetaia a massive favourite in the fight based on, I mean, the Maris Bridis win alone is better than obviously anything Massey's done or even come close to. So I do think there may be not some moments of struggle, but I don't see this being a fight where Jack Massey doesn't have any moments of success. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, look, we'll see. We've seen Jai Opetaia in a really tough competitive fight last time out, but then we've seen him possibly being up against fighters that he shouldn't be in there with. So it'd be interesting to see how Jack Massey compares. Don't want to make this video all about Jai Opetaia. He kind of doesn't have an opponent there in Jack Massey. We've still got a good cruiserweight scene in the UK, gents. Richard Riakporhe, look, we're hoping is going to kind of come back soon. Chev Clark is obviously undefeated fighter who's very excited. Vidal Riley is up and coming. Isaac Chamberlain will be interested to see what he does next. Is Jack Massey the second best British cruiserweight behind Chris Smith? Danny, I'll go back to you. Is he second best for you?
And it's hard to have him of Richard Riakporhe, who's beat him based off solely beating Isaac Chamberlain when Riakporhe's also went and got good wins in that time. So on paper, that fight could go differently if a rematch happened. You don't know, but on paper, you would have to have Riakporhe above him. And in terms of ability, I think Chev Clark might be that bit better than him. But again, that's got to be backed up in the ring. the probably standout name in Shev's resume at the minute is still Tommy McCarthy, and Isaac Chamberlain you would say is a better win than McCarthy. So I wouldn't say so for me, but I don't think there's a great deal in it, and he's obviously separated himself from the likes of Isaac Chamberlain and the two previous Opetaia opponents we've mentioned, who I feel as if they get a sore touch every time people analyse a Chai Opetaia fight. It just keeps being brought up, but yeah, not for me, not number two for me.
Yeah, fair enough. So possibly as low down as fourth. Owen, what do you think? Where is he in your league table?
I'd have to agree. I think Chev, touching on what Danny hinted at, I think Chev Clark will be the best cruiserweight in Britain, but yet to prove it needs a big name and a sort of a big victory to do so. But I think give it 18 months or so, Chev Clark will definitely be the best British cruiserweight we've got. I think, yeah, you look at it, the Reactport, if they had a rematch, would it go differently? Reactport, I find really hard to analyse sometimes. I find him really hard to work out. Not sure what you're going to get from him on the night, but I think you can only base it off paper, really, and what we've seen in the ring. So I think, yeah, probably fourth, fifth is probably about right and probably fair. Um, Chamberlain's had an up and down sort of career himself. So I'd probably put Reactport there because, if Okoli's still fanning around at Bridgerweight, then he probably would have been number two. But yeah, I'd have to agree with Danny there. But for me, 18 months time, it will be Chev Clark.
Fantastic. Yeah, the Bridgerweight division isn't something we're going to be discussing in too much detail on this call, but yeah, maybe another time. All right, gents. I'm interested to hear what you've got to say about this one. I was lucky enough to be there when Crispin and Smith fought Richard Riakporhe back in June at Selhurst Park. And during the post-fight press conference and just kind of before the fight as well, it just felt like the name Jai Pattaya wasn't kind of a very popular one to be brought up, and that's kind of become true because Crispin Smith probably could have fought Jai Pattaya in his next fight, but he's fighting Gilberto Ramirez instead. A fight that's a good fight in itself, but you've possibly got the second and third best guys in the division fighting each other, and whether we see the winner of that fight fighting the number one in Jai Pattaya, we'll have to wait and see. Owen, I'll go back to you. Do you see Jai Pattaya fighting the winner of Crispin Smith versus Ramirez in 2025 for what would be three of the four world titles?
I think it depends on the winner, to be honest, because I think, I spoke to Jai Pattaya, Jordan Thompson, September last year. And his Jai and his team, for whatever reason, openly stated that they wanted the WBO route. That was the next bout they wanted after the IBF. I think Billum Smith has, people have mentioned the name around him in interviews and punditry and whatnot. And like you say, I don't think it's hard to say, it hasn't been too well received, but I think it's more sort of dancing around the subject and trying not to, because Billum Smith he's done incredibly well to become a world champion, but I think I've been quite open and honest in what I think would happen if Chris Billum Smith got into the ring with Jai Pattaya. I think his style's perfect for him. So if Ramirez wins, then possibly. But I think if Chris Billum Smith wins, I don't think we see that fight. Personally, no. I think we could honestly see Jai Pattaya fighting. Obviously we may move on to this soon, but bigger names. Not necessarily in the division at the moment, but yeah, I just think there's too much politics. I think it should have happened already, and it doesn't seem likely, but it should. But personally, if Billum Smith wins, then I don't see it happening. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, no, look, it will be interesting. I think, look, Billum Smith Ramirez is a fantastic fight in itself, taking place mid-November. So we'll see. Lots of lots of ifs and buts. Danny, what do you see happening here? I think there'll be a lot of money on offer for Crispin Smith if he beats Gilberto Ramirez in November. I wouldn't mind betting that's kind of another Riyadh season fight to happen, you know, March, April time, maybe in Saudi against Opetaia. Can you see that fight happening if Crispin Smith wins? Do you see him fighting Opetaia?
I do think Gundam Ahead, the winner of this, will fight Opetaia only because of the extraordinary amounts of money on offer nowadays, because of obviously the Saudi influence. I think if that wasn't a factor, I think Ben Shalom would be very reluctant to make a fight between Billum Smith and Opetaia because it would be sort of helping create a star for Eddie Hearn if Opetaia was to win, because at the minute Opetaia is not really a fighter who, if it wasn't for the Saudi Arabia stuff, would be making Eddie Hearn any money. He's not done any big shows in Australia. He's not a pay-per-view star. I think he sold maybe couple of thousand tickets for the Jordan Thompson fight. I mean, I'm not sure I wasn't there, but I don't think it was a big ticket selling show. But I just think there's no other big fights for Chris Billum Smith after the Zurdo Ramirez one other than Jai Opetaia. He's not going to move up to heavyweight, is he? If he is, he's going to be massively down the queue for any sort of big fights. A cruiserweight, there's nothing that's big. There's nothing the Saudis really willing to want to put on. So he's going to get a taste of the Riyadh season money against Zurdo Ramirez, and he'll want that to continue regardless of if his promotional team are concerned about, what happens to the star power of the opponent. So I think it will happen.
Yeah, like I'd be fascinated if Chris Billum Smith wins and Jai Opetaia wins, of course. What Billum Smith would do if he doesn't fight Jai Opetaia, if that's yeah, it's a question. I think if you consider where Billum Smith's out in where he is in his career, what's the second best offer going to be money wise if he doesn't fight Opetaia? But we'll see. Look, it's all ifs and buts at the moment. Another potential kind of more just what would be a much bigger fight, a mega fight that could possibly happen, gents, is for Opetaia to face the winner of Beterbiev Bivol. I saw Opetaia do an interview recently. I'm not sure who with. Apologies. And yeah, just kind of think he mentioned he would be open to the winner of that fight. This is obviously it's on the same card, isn't it? So he could you never know, he could kind of have a face off in the ring with the winner afterwards. Is that a fight you want to see him to face the winner of Bivol Beterbiev? Do you think it's likely? Do you think it's likely to happen next? Danny, give us your thoughts.
In terms of likeliness, I think if Beterbiev wins, that fight could potentially happen. The reason I say that because I think if Bivol wins, I think that Canelo Alvarez rematch will happen. Um, and I think that would be a much bigger fight for Dimitri Bivol financially than a move up to cruiserweight against Jai Opetaia. Another reason is that Beterbiev's always been regarded as tighter at the weight, at light heavyweight, and maybe more suited to moving up to cruiserweight. And to be honest, it's a fight I would rather see would be Beterbiev versus Opetaia than Bivol Opetaia. I think Bivol Opetaia would probably be a bit more of a technical affair, and Beterbiev, Opetaia, whilst I don't think obviously they're both two technically excellent fighters, just stylistically it would turn into a more fan-friendly fight. So, and I actually do think if Beterbiev is to win, in just under 2 weeks' time, that we could actually see that happen, and I would love to.
Would you back Opetaia to beat both of them?
Oh, nah.
Oh,
Not if it's Beterbiev's at his best, I think he would beat him.
Be bigger helmet.
Bivol closer to a 50-50, I think.
Yeah, big shout, big shout. Okay. The call's become too much for Owen, who's had to leave the call. So we'll carry things on, Danny. Hopefully Owen will come back. You know what? We're gonna go oh, he's come back. He's come back. We thought you were having reservations about giving your prediction for Jai Opetaia, Massey, Owen, but
be turned on, unfortunately. So
no,
that's a
no worries at all. I'll ask you the same question, Owen. Can you see Opetaia facing the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol?
It's a difficult one. Like I say, I think, like Danny said, it depends on who wins because I think from Opetaia's perspective, he's in that unlucky category of he's an excellent fighter, but he's too honest. So he's not going to come out and say he's going to spark anyone out cold. He's not going to badmouth anyone. He's not going to call anyone out. So he hasn't got that aspect of the personality to be the massive draw that I think he should be. I think Bivol, it's a difficult one because I still can't necessarily see Canelo happening. But then again, if like say the Saudis say here's X amount of millions, it does happen. Opetaia himself has said he would potentially go up to heavyweight, so there's that to factor in. But I think if Beterbiev wins, I actually think that could be the next fight for both of them. It's a huge fight for both. I think Opetaia gets the chance to make the millions. And Beterbiev, if he goes and beats Opetaia at a cruiserweight, he's already cemented himself as a great, but that's an incredible CV if he manages to do so. So I definitely think if Beterbiev wins that, it could actually be the very next fight for both men.
Yeah, I think we could be in a very special position where the best light heavyweight in the world moves up to take on the best cruiserweight in the world. One thing for you, Owen. I think we've discussed this in previous videos about Opetaia. The move up to heavyweight. Where do you think that's at? We've discussed kind of staying at cruiserweight. We've discussed someone moving up from light heavyweight to face him. He's Look, I think the move up to heavyweight will happen at some point. 28, 29 years old now. I'm going to see Opetaia is. Do you think that's going to happen next year? Do you think it could be another 3, 4 years away? Where's your head on that one?
I still think it's a good couple of years away. I think it was almost expected that when he beat Bradis the first time, obviously he fought with a broken jaw, and then he was fighting mandatories like Jordan Thompson and just smashing through them. I think it was widely expected that he is the best cruiserweight on the planet and that he was just going to sweep up, take all the bouts, and then move up to heavyweight. But politics have happened. That isn't the case now. Like you say, you've got the potential Beterbiev Bivol fight. Is the Beterbiev fight bigger than any get at heavyweight straight away? Absolutely. Again, there's so many politics within the heavyweight belt division. So I think I expected it to happen sooner than it will. I thought we'd be looking at end of this year, early next year. If you'd have asked me this 18 months ago or so, would that have happened? I would have said yes. So I think we will see it, but I don't think we'll see it until 2026 towards 2027 sort of thing, because I still think there's business for him to do it at cruiserweight. Then he's got that potential star-studded fight against Bivol or Beterbiev. So I do think we're a good couple of years away from that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, we'll see what happens. All right, gents. We'll end things as usual with some predictions. I want exact predictions if that's okay. Sure, most people know how this is going to go, but we'll hand the mic over to you guys. Owen, what is your prediction for this one? Jai Opetaia, Jack Massey.
I think Opetaia is going to stop him, but I do think it's going to be late. I think Massey is going to be good enough just to hang in there, but I think Opetaia will break him down, be too good, too powerful. If I had to put an exact round on it, I'd probably look at round 9. So if I was betting perspective, I'd be looking at sort of rounds 9 to 12 in that sort of bracket. But yeah, I'd say round 9 stoppage. I think it'll just break him down, too big, too strong, sort of thing, and just too technically good. And yeah, for me, round 9, if I had a gun to my head.
Fantastic, Danny. Owen's going round 9. Were you thinking around then, earlier points? What's on your mind?
I do think it won't be some early blowout. I actually go Opetaia on points. Massey took some decent licks off Joseph Parker, who was about 2.5 stone heavier than him. Uh, Opetaia, he's blown out of the water, less than stellar competition. That second fight with Bradis has made me maybe pump the brakes, in my opinion, of him, especially given the fact Bradis retired almost immediately after. He and watched an interview with Jack Massey, and he said he'd sparred Bradis and he did have a lot of injuries, and he was, you could see he was an aging fighter. So I think Jai Opetaia will win a wide points decision, maybe with a knockdown or two in there, but I'll back Jack Massey to see the final bell.
No, brilliant. No, we'll see what happens. I think, look, it'd be interesting to see how Jack Massey approaches the fight as well. I'll go. I'm going to join Owen and go for a stoppage here, and I think it will be a bit early. I'm going to go round 6. I think Jack Massey's clearly a very tough man, but I think we've seen what happens when Opetaia goes up against someone who he is levels above, and I think that's what will happen here. Danny, Owen, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to this one. It's a fantastic undercard. Obviously got Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark on the same undercard as well, that rematch, and then we have the main event as well. Thank you both very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again very soon.